Boy, well, it's great to be here, everyone. And I was just listening to the Minister of Money behind the screen there. And Peter, you do a great job. You know, I always tell him he's tight as skin on a grape. So this is the wrestling match we have every year, right around this time. He's doing budget, and I couldn't ask for a better finance minister than Peter. You know something? I always say this: the foundation of our healthcare system, our education. You know, our investments when it comes to infrastructure, the $222 billion of building roads and bridges and highways and schools, the foundation of that is our economy. And without our economy, we don't have anything. So Peter, thank you so much for being a prudent fiscal manager of the taxpayers' money, and you're doing an incredible job. So first of all, I want to thank Skills Ontario for this opportunity to speak to you today and for all the great work you do to promote the skills trade. Just think, this year there are over 2,800 competitors, making this the largest skills contest in the entire country. Last year there was over 48,000 attendees. I look forward to getting the numbers this time around. And I'm pleased to be joined. You know, when I look at the list, I'm thinking no one's at Queen's Park here. They're all down here. So here we go. Ministers Bethlenfalvy, Jones, McGregor, Quinn, Lecce, Piccini. And by the way, David, you're doing a great, well, they're all doing a great job. But since it's skills development, that falls under your portfolio. He's an absolute champion. And thank you for everything that you're doing. And Thompson, Tabolo, Williams, Oosterhoff, and MPPs Anand, Coe, Farin, Sabawe, and Sarazan. So I'm not too sure who's debating the Liberals and NDP, but it's an empty house down there right now. But I think we got to get back into the house. I also want to recognize Mayor Olivia Chow. I think the mayor, where are you? Somewhere? Okay, maybe she hasn't arrived, but she's doing a great job, and I know there's a local councillor, Vince Crescenti, here as well. And the partners at Skills Ontario. I want to give a shout out to Ian and David and Gail. I know she's the real boss, I'm told, around here. So just listen to Gail. She's a fireball. You'll see her running around here. I also want to give a big shout out to all the unions representing the skills trade here. You're absolutely fabulous. You're teaching these young people a skill that they'll hold on to. I always say, you know, education, and education comes in all sorts of different forms, right? You have the academic education, which is critical, and then we have the skills trade education, which is critical. It's the lightest luggage that you're ever going to carry. Think of that. Once you have a skills trade, no one can take it off you. You're going to carry that no matter if you're here or if you're there or if you move to another province. Hopefully that never happens. You'll always have that skills trade there. I also want to congratulate all the young people here today who will be competing over the next few days. Learning a trade is one of the best decisions a young person can make. It will set you up for a good paying job. As what's our favorite saying? A better job and a bigger paycheck. And that's exactly what comes with having a skilled trade. And a rewarding career, and it will help you give back to our province in a real tangible way. It's more important than ever that we support workers, including the next generation of workers, by investing in practical skills development. President Trump's tariffs, this guy drives me nuts. I just get wound up. You know, he's sitting there, he drives it. Here I go off my speech. I always... My team starts getting nervous when I go off the teleprompter. And by the way, I'll tell you one thing. We all have tough jobs, right? We all have tough jobs. The person with the toughest job in this room is the teleprompter operator, because I'm all over the place right now. She's going up and down. And anyways, you know, what drives me nuts, you see this guy on TV. We don't need Canada. Really? I guess you don't need our high-grade nickel that they use 57% of their nickel to build their military, their aerospace, and manufacturing. Imagine if we never gave them our high-grade nickel. Or my friend Scott Moe out in Saskatchewan, if he cut off the potash, that 87% of the farmers down in the U.S. use Saskatchewan potash. Or the uranium coming from Saskatchewan as well. And you just think of this, uranium gets refined in Port Hope, in your area, David, and then gets shipped down to the U.S. And imagine if they didn't have the uranium. They wouldn't have any nuclear power down there. Or, of course, what would they do if they didn't have our electricity? The 1.5 million homes and businesses in New York and Minnesota and Michigan, they wouldn't have any power. And I talked to all these governors, no matter if it's Republican or Democrat. And even the Republicans, behind closed doors, because they're terrified of their leader, that's pretty crazy in itself, that totally disagree with attacking their closest friends and allies. You know, we always believe in something called the AMCAN Fortress, the American-Canadian Fortress. We put a ring around it. We'd be unstoppable anywhere in the entire world. We'd be the wealthiest, richest two nations in the world and the safest two nations. And, you know, all he's trying to do, and we wish him, I forget about political stripes, by the way. We have a prime minister down there, and he's going to be sitting down, and he's going to give it everything he can. This is a time to unite the country, not people saying, oh, I'm leaving the country, or I'm doing this, I'm doing that. You know, united we stand, divided we fall. And we have to be united Canada together to fight President Trump's tariff. And the economic uncertainty that he has created, not just here, but down in the U.S. as well. I spent 20 years of my life in our Chicago, New Jersey plant. I still call people up on a daily basis. And they're all saying, even the Trump supporters are saying, this is crazy what he's doing, attacking. One guy said his little brother north of the border, and they're getting it. And that's the reason, first time in 80 years, you know, they always measure your first 100 days. Are we past our first 100 days from our election? But they measure their first 100 days, and this guy's tumbled to 39%. I can't wait for the midterms. Then we'll fix his little red wagon. Anyways, and the economic uncertainties created on both sides of the border already having a direct impact on our province and our workers. Many problems are because of the chaos coming from south of the border. That's why our government has a plan to protect Ontario. And I've always said we're going to protect our workers, we're going to protect their jobs, we're going to protect communities and families, and I will not spare a penny to do it. Right, Peter? No, we aren't sparing a penny. But we all feel the same way. We will do whatever it takes. You know, Peter, you know, just incredible. He really watches the dollars. And when he came to me and we're running through the budget, he said, this is going to throw our fiscal plan off. We have two choices, right? Either start cutting infrastructure and everything else, or you hang in there for a year or two and we balance, because we do have a path to balance. I said, and I think everyone in this room said, you never stop infrastructure, you never stop building, you never stop investing into our future. You know, we'll make up the difference in the next couple of years, but it's about today, right now. How are we going to support these families? So, again, Peter, thank you for being understanding and making sure the people of Ontario will always be taken care of. We're including the workers who are the engine of our economy. That plan includes making new investments in highways, transit, hospitals, schools, and other infrastructure to keep workers on the job no matter what. Our plan will also unlock our critical minerals in the north and making sure those minerals are processed here in Ontario by Ontario workers and refined by Ontario workers. You know, I heard our great finance minister talk about the critical minerals. We have more critical minerals here than anywhere in the entire world. You know, we hear about Alberta's oil, and God bless them. We would have more funding, more money coming into our province than Alberta's oil. But we can't do this the same way we've been doing it for years and years and years. And I mentioned this to the Prime Minister, and he's 100% on board. We're the only jurisdiction in the world, believe it or not. Are you ready for this one? It takes 15 to 17 years to get a permit, as everyone else in the world is getting in a year or 2 years. Matter of fact, I had a CEO, a mining CEO, call me a couple weeks ago, and this hit home. You know, he said, Doug, I've been fighting this for 7 years. He wasn't even at the 15 years. And there's 16 more steps we got to go through just to get a permit to drill. This is amazing. To drill a testing drill 4.5 inches in diameter. And I'm thinking, and he says, oh, by the way, the bad news is I went to our board and I told them, forget Ontario. It's too hard to get a permit. We're moving $500 million to invest in Australia because they can get a permit in 2 years. Folks, this is what we're up against. So when we're out there saying, hey, we got to change this, this, and that, this is going to benefit Ontario. We have 43 of the most critical minerals that the whole world wants. Everyone wants our critical minerals. But we can't have, they're doing the EA for us, another EA for the feds, and just duplication and bureaucracy and red tape and regulations. We get those critical minerals out of the ground, we will be the richest, the safest, the most prosperous sub-sovereign nation anywhere in the entire world. It will help us pay for our healthcare, our education, our $222 billion of infrastructure. So we're making sure that we're going to get shovels in the ground. And do you know who plays a critical role in this is our First Nations community. I got to give a shout out to Webbequay up in the north, right by the Ring of Fire, Arrowland as well, and Martin Falls. These folks are incredible to work with. They want to go out there. They want prosperity for their communities. Arrowland, they live on diesel. Do people understand living on diesel? Now with that deal with Arrowland and Martin Falls and Webbequay, we're bringing electricity to their town. They're going to be able to build community centers and arenas and get quality of life when it comes to health care. It's fly-in communities. They're going to actually be able to get fresh fruit. I talked to one chief the other day, and you're driving up in the winter, they don't have the fresh fruit. They can't just go into the grocery store and pick up some bananas and oranges that we take for granted. This is going to change your lives because we are going to build the road to the Ring of Fire, and we're going to get shovels in the ground with cooperation from our First Nations communities. And our plan will cut the red tape that is holding back investments and tear down barriers to free trade within Canada so more businesses and entrepreneurs create jobs and invest here in Ontario. So would you believe with free trade, Canadian Free Trade Agreement that was signed many years ago, that it's easier to deal with the U.S. and 51 other tariff-free countries than being able to ship a bottle of our Great Niagara wine out to BC? That's ridiculous. We can't do free trade within our own country. Well, folks, I'm glad to say we're leading the way. I got to give a shout out to all the other premiers that are helping us. We've signed 2 MOUs, one with Nova Scotia, and Premier Houston. The guy's been a champion, by the way. He's leading the way as well in New Brunswick. I've called the other premiers. They're all lining up. So we'll actually have free trade. And this is larger, believe it or not, than the tariffs. This will add $200 billion to our GDP, and it could raise our GDP up by 7-8%. These are staggering numbers when you think of $200 billion. But folks, we need to do more than that as well. We need to invest directly in our workers so they have the skills and the experience they need to find good paying jobs and help grow our economy. Since 2018, we've already made record investments in Ontario workers. Just last month, we announced an investment of $750 million to fund more than 20,000 seats in science, technology, engineering, and math programs in our colleges and universities. This funding will help students, including, I hope, many of the students competing this week, get the skills and education they need to find rewarding careers. From 2021 to 2024, we also invested $1.5 billion in our Skills Development Fund, which has helped train over 1 million workers for a better job, as we said, and a bigger paycheck. But in the face of economic uncertainty, we're doing even more. Today, I'm announcing that starting this year, our government is investing $1 billion on top of the $1.5 billion, so total $2.5 billion in the training and the capital streams of our Skills Development Fund. Thank you so much for that. As I was mentioning, this investment brings our total SDF funding to $2.5 billion, never been done in the history of our country, not to mention our province. And we will connect even more workers to the in-demand skills and hands-on experience they need. It will also help training organizations deliver world-class programs in upgraded and new training centers. I'm thinking of the hockey game still. That was a close one last night, wasn't it? Like, I'm on the edge of my seat thinking, oh no, don't do it again. Anyways, across the province, the workers being trained through this funding will get the skills and experience they need to build and protect Ontario, all while enjoying the dignity of a hard-earned paycheck. We're going to keep investing in workers because Ontario's workers are the heart of our plan to continue moving forward and protect Ontario. We have the best workers anywhere in the world. I'll put our team Ontario up against anyone in the world. And I look forward to doing so in partnership with all of you. I want to thank you so much, and may God bless the people of Ontario. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you so much, Premier Ford, and what an incredible announcement, no less. I would go much further with my sincere thanks, but I will be passing it over to David Morley, who's the Chair of Skills Ontario, for some remarks now. Thank you so much.